Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another movie spoiler review. And it's the month of November. I'll be covering some Thanksgiving type of movie reviews. It's not many, but I'll try to include some family-oriented type of films in the spirit of Thanksgiving. And of course, there's going to be a couple of outliers like the Marvels and covering that in the next week, because is that movie and Aquaman 2 in December is the last two movies I'm going to be going to the theater to actually go see. What else? Yeah, so far as like what movies next year I'm going to see, I can't say off the top of my head right now because a lot of things getting pushed back. I'll be making a discussion video, which I haven't done in a while, about what's going on with the MCU, but I'll say that in a little while later. Anyway, the first movie for the month of November for Thanksgiving is a movie that I saw. It was on Netflix last year, around at tail end of Thanksgiving, that I noticed on Netflix, but I didn't include on that last year's list because I didn't even know it freaking exists. Probably for good reason. So I put it on the list for this year, and I want to make sure it's the first one I wanted to cover. Now they moved it to Hulu for some reason. So yeah, Friendsgiving, which is a term that was coined. When was the term coined? Early 2000s, of course it did. So, in case you don't know what Friendsgiving is, it's basically people who have little to no family of their own, and they kind of like build up, chosen friends that are like family, and like, if you're an orphan or you haven't had like you wasn't raised in a traditional family, but you build up, massive amount of friends, and you have a more a Thanksgiving with just like a bunch of friends, and they turned the coin Friendsgiving. Or if you just didn't want to visit, if you had like probably crappy relationship with your family, or you just didn't feel like visiting family, whether they're too far away or whatever the case may be, you just have more intimate moment with just friends, which is not a bad idea. I just hate the fact that they want to like just make words, and have it just mean something, whatever. I don't know, I'm not even sure who the first person who created that term. But anyway, this movie was released in 2020 of October. It probably was, filmed in 2019. So luckily, they didn't get caught up by the whole COVID-19 situation. But the movie was directed by Nicole Pion, and it stars Maylene Ackerman as Molly, Kat Dennings as Abby, Jane Seymour as Helen, Molly's mom, Aisha Tyler as Lauren, the friend of Molly and Abby, Chelsea Peretti, the wife of Jordan Peele, Christine Tyler as Brienne, Dion Cole as Dan, the husband of Lauren, Ryan Hansen as Gunnar, the ex-boyfriend of Molly. Then you got Wanda Sykes, Margaret Cho, and Fortune Fimster as the fairy gay mothers. We'll get to that in a little bit. Jack Donnelly as Jeff, the fling of Molly. uh, River Butcher as Denham, uh, Andrew Centino as Rick. He is like, you know, one of the main supporting cast of the FX TV show Dave, you know, starring Little Dicky. Um, uh, anyway, we are, you know, see, I love, like, you know, comedy, family oriented Thanksgiving type of, or at least kind of like the Father of the Bride kind of situation where you got like some weird family shenanigans, and it's like always find it hilarious in those type of films where it's like early in the day and everybody's trying to, you know, families coming in, or, you know, they're preparing the meals and they're, you know, like scrambling, like, oh, we gotta, because it's typical in Thanksgiving where it's like, oh, the mom forgot, like, you know, the ingredient for cornbread, they gotta rush out to the store and you go through all these shenanigans. Ah, God, I kind of wish they had that in here, because for some reason, I like those type of shenanigans in family films, because it typically in like these kind of Thanksgiving type of scenarios, because it's hilarious to me. And see, like, kind of like Christmas with the Cranks, you know, not necessarily a good film. I don't even know if I even reviewed that. I like to think I did, but not necessarily a good film. But the fact that they were scrambling, you know, trying to get, you know, some stuff ready for the Christmas party, always get like a kick out of those kind of things. But they didn't do that in here. You only get like maybe a little bit in early in the film where Abby is like, you know, going through some stuff where she's like 29 and she only recently discovered that, you know, she was a lesbian, and her first girlfriend broke up with her, then later to find out that this girl is now engaged to another woman, which kind of, you know, get her into the holiday blues. So, and she calls it this kind of like a uproar in the grocery store while she's getting some stuff, and literally open up a bottle of champagne in the middle of the store and getting, like, you know, rushed out. And not many people care for Kat Dennings, mainly in the Thor films for some reason. I mean, like, I always like Kat Dennings. I just like her smarminess in a way. I think she's very, very cute. But I like the whole smarmy, you know, kind of crude humor that she has. I always thought that was very charming in a way to me. And it kind of fits my sensibilities. I kind of like that. And I really like the sound of her voice. And it's like, you know, not many people do. I was like, you know, it's kind of nasally, but not in an annoying Lois Griffin kind of way. Then you got Molly, who is an actress, but she, you know, not too long ago had a child, but she's in the middle of divorce, and now she's like, you know, messing around with this rebound guy who is supposed to be some kind of what do he call it? It's so dumb and clearly like, you're just broke, dude. Kind of like this Englishman who's kind of like a hipster, or not even like a hipster, but he's kind of like a I forgot the term he used, the title that he used, where he's like a philanthropist or something like that. But he gets, like, you know, through his philanthropy, he gets, you know, certain kickbacks. Like, dude, why you blowing smoke up people's asses? You are a grifter. He's not like a bad guy, and he clearly cares about Molly and her son, who's a baby. It was a very cute baby too. But Molly is like, you know, just want their initial plan was having like a more, her and Abby initial plan was just having like a more intimate Thanksgiving between these two ladies, and their friend Lauren and her husband and their two children. And that's it. Now, you get in typical fashion in these kind of films, you get a bunch of unnecessarily amount of people coming in, and a couple of which are these stud looking girls that Lauren invited to try to set up Abby up. And they're what's I kind of like is typically in these type of setup scenarios is always these douchebag dudes that obviously clearly has no business dating anybody with no typical prospects, or they coming off like schmucks. But here you get like the flip effect where these very weird chicks, one that looks like some kind of like a doomsday prepper type of chick, and very over exaggerated types of like lesbians, and you get these little moments where I think they try to be funny with it, where it's like they just stare at the camera and give their little profiles and what they're into, and it's like, I give this like one charitable I guess it's clever in a way. You don't see it. I give them that. You don't see much of something like this. It's still breaking the fourth wall, but in like a dating profile type of way. So points to cleverness. So then, Molly's mom ends up showing up, and then still connected to because not the birth father, but the man prior to him, Helen still kept in contact with, which is all kinds of weird. Helen's not a very good mom. She kind of sort of got like a redemption in a way, half-ass one, but she ends up inviting, without any consideration to the daughter, and that's why they have like a very messy relationship, invited this guy who looks like a walking Chad bro douchebag, but he's not a total ass, but up until the last point, it's like these subtle redemption things felt very quick and didn't have time to kind of settle. He has this little moment of quote unquote redemption, but it's quick and it's like, very 180. But all through the most of the film, since his introduction, it's like he very disrespectful to Molly, and the fact that she has a boyfriend / fling that's at the dinner, and you just completely like disregard his feelings because he's still very nice. Like the lack of like financial prospects, he's still a very decent dude, and not many guys will want to hook up with a single mom, but he actually cares for her and a kid, and helping prepare the dinner and everything like that. So he's been very disrespectful, clearly, and these not so subtle hints. While there's moments where you can say she's been civil, but Molly isn't being very considerate to oh God, what's his name? Jeff's feelings. Especially when they're on a dance floor and she's dancing with Gunner while Jeff is dancing just like very weirdly, but like let your freak flag fly, I guess. But it's doing this, like, it's like, what are you doing? Are you having like a seizure or something? Uh, uh, but anyway, then you get these other motley crew of people, but you get Claire, who's it's a, getting like a this whole shaman thing. You know, those type of, chameleon type of people that just adopt some type of persona, just trying to find their thing or whatever. And she's now embracing the whole shamanism, but she calls herself a Sha woman. And all I see is Gina Linetti. If you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that's all I see. Like, she's not necessarily my favorite character on the show. She left the impact. And as soon as, like, there's a moment where Abby blows up on everybody because she just, felt, like, just lonely and, like, doesn't have anybody. And it seems like, everybody's, I guess, doing their own thing and she doesn't have somebody, which people can relate. And then, Claire just, starts like it's like, there's Gina Linetti, because she gets all very, I think she's from New York. She gets very New Yorkish in a way. Is she from New York? The actress? No, she's from California, but she gets all like, I don't know. She was on Saturday Night Live, so I guess she kind of had a stint in New York, so it's kind of like get that kind of attitude. But I was like, there's Gina Linetti, there she is. But then it's like, most of the film, which is the funniest part of this film, is the fact that when the food is actually darn near ready, they know it's like, oh, certain things aren't like vegan, so they got to pretend like certain things are vegan or vegetarian. Oh, well, Addie's almost here, that'll be the vegetarian stuff. I'll put a little flakes here, and that'll be the vegan stuff, and all the rest of the stuff that's actually good, that'll be the food. That part is very funny because this is California, and it's like I wouldn't even call it like an exaggeration of like the mindset of people there, but it's just like, there's moments where it's like, this movie seems like its audience is more catered to a super left type of audience, where they're just got like a just a camaraderie of friends that's made up of people of color, lesbians of all shapes and sizes and definitions, anybody who identify as non-binary, even though there's probably there is no non-binary person there, but it just fit a super demographic woke-ish type of people. And it's not necessarily wrong with that, but it's just like, I'm watching this and it's like, yeah, I'm maybe partly the part of the demographic, but only for the black people's part. But even then, I'm just like, and it's like, I guess that, everybody has their own little movie that's supposed, can be catered to them. But it's just not, hardly any of this stuff is very funny, even though you got like a slew of comedians here who in their own right are very funny. Kat Dennings has been very funny. I keep calling her Gina Linetti. Chelsea Peretti is very funny. Deion Cole, Aisha Tyler, very funny. Wanda Sykes, Margaret Cho, they are very funny. But yeah, all these, very iconic, comedians this is supposed to be funny. You would expect, and it kind of feels like they're, held back for the sake of PC culture. Like, can you imagine what Wanda Sykes could really do if you just let her off the leash and she just goes ham with the jokes? This could be very funny. Saying that you get moments with Kat Dennings, but she seems like very restrained. Aisha Tyler seems very restrained. Dion Cole seems very restrained. And it's like, God, it's like, this could be like a very awesome Thanksgiving film, a very iconic one, if it seems like people have been playing safe, where just not to upset too many people. That's the way I see this. And I was kind of looking forward to watching this when I saw it on Netflix. I didn't watch it then because, like, I want to save it until this year so that way I can come in fresh. And it's like, man, seems like it's been held back. It is not as funny as like I expect it to be. There's a moment where, like, Lauren, eats some chocolate edibles, these, chocolate covered nuts is also edibles. Try to, like, get a little buzz going during this whole shindig. But after Molly's blow up, she's, in the bathroom, upset the fact that, she hasn't kissed anybody in a year. She's, just been lonely. So Lauren just makes out with her. And then Lauren's daughter and husband walks in on them, and it's become a whole thing. And the one you can say it could have been like a funny moment in their point of view, but we're having like Dan's, making sly comments to Lauren. It's like, as soon as Christmas come, I'm flipping the fucking table over or something like that. And it's like, that's not Dion Cole. This dude's from Chicago like me. And it's like, this dude is very funny. And it's like, you could have him say, I'm pretty sure he can, like, just off the top of his freaking head, can rattle off at least 10 funny things right in this moment. And it's like, he seems so held back. But then after Molly, was like, looking at the kid and stuff like that, she ends up taking like L's beforehand, but she gets visited by her very gay godmothers, and three iconic comedians, and not one of them said anything funny except rattle off a list of different types of lesbians. And it's like, I don't know. And it's like just the sheer fact that it's like very gay mothers. It's like, God, this is like very safe type of film. And like, movies shouldn't feel, well, depending on the movie, like, it's like a PG type of movie directed for kids. That is probably the only movie types of only movies that should be deemed as safe. Every other type of movie, and this is a rated R, mind you, but what's rated R except for the cursing and two women kissing, or at least two different women kissing, or two sets of women kissing. But it's just like, I guess it's supposed to be funny, but it's like, how is this funny? Because, she's a lesbian, she gotta have fairy gay mothers, but not just one. It'll be just fine with just one fairy gay mother, but you trying to, it's heavy-handed, in my opinion, where you got like three of them. Why you need three? And that's the thing. That's where the over heavy-handedness comes into play, where Cinderella only had one fairy godmother. She didn't have three. If you're trying to make some kind of parallels, and where did this come from anyway? Where she had this, you know, you know, hallucination in her drug-induced state. Okay, fine. That's all well and good, but you know, are you trying to also make a ghost of it'd make more sense if it's like a Christmas Carol type of thing where it's like, you know, three, lesbian women from representing her past, present, and future. That would make a little bit more sense. And I can like, okay, you making some kind of parallels here. But if you're doing like a whole fairy godmother thing, you only need one. And I think like it could have been any one of these women. It would been funny if it was one of Sykes. But once again, it'll still be held if it was any just one of them, it'll still feel held back. Where it's like you can't go. It could have easily been like a raunchy type of comedy. But this was not good, man. But then not realizing because things get a little intense when Molly accidentally gave a little bit of those chocolate covered nuts to the baby. And first and foremost, why would you, even high, you wouldn't do something like giving, even if it's like a very, very tiny piece of an edible to a baby. That is just so hugely irresponsible, not knowing the effects it will have on a child that's small and what this little kid might see is very dangerous. But the fact that they soon realize, oh, this baby has an allergic reaction to nuts. This is the first time they come to realize this. So Molly gets in an argument with Abby. So Molly and Jeff takes the baby to the hospital. And Molly rushes over to apologize, after realizing, kind of like she shouldn't be wallowing, in her like self-pity kind of situation. And meanwhile, Helen was, trying to hit on Gunnar the whole doggone time after realizing, I have, gone through a few divorces myself. I'll just move on to the next dude, and you should have fun, and cheat on Jeff with Gunnar, and just be like me. Essentially, she trying to force Molly to be like her, and Molly's not having any of that. And that's where Gunnar has his little moment of quote unquote redemption, where like she's trying to put the moves on him, and he's like, yo, no, like you're Molly's mom, maybe you should act like that and not her friend. And he gets up and leaves, and that's the last you see of him. Then while Jeff and Molly is looking after the baby, who turns out to be fine and everything like that, she comes to realize that she treated him more like a rebound, not like a acceptable boyfriend for her. So they broke it off amicably, and he just dips out. You never see him again. It's like, hey, not that he wouldn't make any kind of decent boyfriend anyway, because the fact that he doesn't have a stable job, but he seems very like decent, more so than any other dude that she probably been with before. But then she lets Abby in, saying like, oh, she's family, and they reconcile. They go home, say the goodbyes to the family, and uh, Abby apologizes to Dan, and Dan's like, it's all good, man. It's like, but next time, like, why don't you invite a brother and stuff like that? It's like, okay, could have been a lot funnier in that moment, or at the very least, if it was like really, cut loose or very raunchy, allowed to be raunchy, because I can imagine this could be easily a raunchy, comedy where Abby could just like make things square with Dan by just making out with him, so that way, okay, are we good? Like we kind of even, so that way it doesn't feel like you know whatever. Julia, thank you for following. But so uh Helen and Molly had this. I'm doing fine, Julie. Helen and Molly have this kind of like uh reconciliation, especially after this, this older gentleman looks like you know the guy from that commercial. You're gonna like the way I look, I guarantee, kind of guy. And she goes out with them. You never see her again, because she had this moment like, call me mom, and Molly's like, yeah, I'd rather not. It's like, oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's probably best, kind of thing. I was like, I'm doing fine, Jolie. So that's where the movie ends. It's like everything's all good. I mean, it's not without its like, nice moments, but it's just like, this is like I know certain movies have certain different demographics they're catering to, and that's all well and good, but it just feels restrained. I can imagine this. I can see this as like a very raunchy, iconic, a future iconic Thanksgiving type of movie to be watched for the ages, kind of like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is for Thanksgiving. And that's why I have like a grievance. I made this point when I was playing Marvel Spider-Man 2, which, by the way, I play live almost every day. Uh, 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 and I made a point about it last night, where there's a recent trailer of this new horror movie called Friendsgiving, and again, kind of irked about that, because like so very few wholesome Thanksgiving films that we can actually watch on every month of every year for the month of November. Kind of like, because Halloween got a slew of them, and then you got obviously Christmas has a whole slew of them, and Thanksgiving, types of stuff gets very overshadowed by those two holidays. Uh, uh, Thanks, Julie, but no, I got like a bunch of people always coming here and asking, like, show me their work and stuff like that. So it's like I'm kind of like filled to the brim of people coming in and talking about that. So thank you, but no, thank you. Uh, uh, so it's just like, this could have been easily like a raunchy comedy, kind of like the Jennifer Lawrence one that I did a review for a couple of months ago, where I appreciate that because it's so very few raunchy comedies being made this day, because everybody's so doggone sensitive about certain topics or things being done that might insult people. And it's like, sometimes it's okay to be a little offensive, okay? You don't have to like it, you don't have to watch if it it doesn't make you feel good or whatever like that, but sometimes you gotta laugh at yourself, it's all in good spirits. And if you're afraid to do certain things because certain people might get offended, then it's like you're not doing your job. So, and I feel like this movie is being way too PC for its own good, and it's hurting it's hurting itself. shooting itself in the foot, because this came out with like a very mediocre 19% approval rating, which tells you something. So yeah, I mean, man, and I was, like I said, I was like looking forward to this because like, oh, we got a whole bunch of comedians involved in this. It should be like a guarantee. It doesn't have to be like the perfect, like some kind of like John Wick out the gate type of incredible new film, but at the very least you should have some kind of cult classic type of edge to it, where it's like, oh, it didn't do well in the box office, but it's actually low-key very good, and because you got a bunch of these comedians, and it's like they, you know, they tell all these kind of raunchy jokes, and because like Wanda Sykes, Dion Cole, like Margaret Cho, they're very known to say some off the wall stuff, and very funny. I mean, I meant for everybody, but it's just, I don't know. It's like, this movie's playing way too safe for my taste. And it's probably the first time I actually even said something like this about a film. Because I like comedy. I like, you know, certain edgy comedy. And I ain't talking about like just saying things just for the sake of saying it under the guise of saying like, oh, it's comedy. No, you don't get this, you know, it's a difference between being raunchy and then just being insulting. I like Dave Chappelle. Not many people care for him, but he is a great comedian, and he tells certain things that, you know, because comedians not only say things in certain say things in a lens of how they view the world, but it makes you think, and they make you laugh at the same time. That's a mark of a great comedian, and all these comedians know this. And the director and the writers behind all this seems to have, you know, constrained them. And also, this was distributed by Saban. That's right, Power Ranger Saban. So that's just like, ooh, God. This no wonder this wasn't released in theaters, and also why you haven't heard much about this film. And it just popped up on Netflix one day last year, and now it's on Hulu. Don't even know why it's on Hulu, like, you know, because it's definitely not like anything tawdry outside of two sets of women kissing. But anyway, yeah, this is not very good. It's not even at least funny. But anyway, I'll have more family-oriented films for the month of November, celebrating Thanksgiving month. I just wrapped up my Halloween month for a bunch of reviews, so you can check that out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. Follow me here on Twitch as I go live almost every day. You can follow me also on Patreon if you have certain requests for certain reviews. You know, Patreon members get first viewing and shout outs. And you can follow me on Twitter. You should know when I'm live or whatever. And yeah, I'll see you guys in a few minutes as I do a discussion video about the current state of the MCU. It's been a while since I did one of those, so I want to make sure like I get my 2 cents in about that. So anyway, I'll see you guys later on tonight also for more Marvel Spider-Man 2 and more future Thanksgiving type of reviews. So thank you all. I'll see you all soon. Peace.